is the Titans and the Colts. And, this Colts team, unfortunately, getting out to a very, very rough start here. 0-3, not great. And Carson Wentz is looking good out there. He's looking all right. But just unfortunately, something is not good here with this offense. They're not putting up the points. They're losing every single game. Obviously, the 0-3 start. So we know that no T.Y. Hilton for the first couple of games here. Hopefully, he can be here potentially next week, maybe week 5. So we'll keep an eye on his status. But we really needed Michael Pittman Jr. to really get it going and set the tempo and be that true A1 tier 1 wide receiver that this Colts team is kind of missing. We've seen what this Colts team has been doing over the last 3 weeks, and their running game is really solid. Unfortunately, now Marlon Mack is going to request a trade because they're not going to utilize him anymore. He was just inactive for this Titans game. The Colts feel good with rocking with Jonathan Taylor and Nyheim Hines, so they're like, yeah, Marlon Mack, yeah, you can get out of here. We can trade you, no big deal. So now the Colts, we've been talking about them this entire offseason of having 3 great backs. But now only going to get cut down to 2. So now we're definitely going to need Michael Pittman Jr. to really step it up here. And unfortunately in this game, how many drops did he have, or just incomplete passes? He was targeted 12 times, and that's exactly what needs to be done since he should be the number 1 wide receiver because T.Y. Hilton is out. But he only had 6 receptions. That's 6 drops, 6 incomplete passes when he's targeting Michael Pittman Jr. So let's watch all of these drops here, incomplete passes. Are they on Michael Pittman Jr. or are they on Carson Wentz? Is Carson Wentz being a good quarterback out here for the Colts, and just the overall production of the weapons for this Colts team are not getting it done, and that's why they're 0-3? Or is it because Carson Wentz is throwing inaccurate passes all over the field, and his receivers can't catch him, and that results into not sustaining drives, and that results into not putting up the points, and they are 0-3? So something is amiss here, and we're going to decide if it's Michael Pittman Jr. or if it's Carson Wentz, because either way you slice it, it's kind of overall disappointing right here. The first 3 games here really was expecting Michael Pittman Jr. to really explode onto the scene this season. He was primed and set up to have real great success. Like we just said, no T.Y. Hilton for the first couple of games because he is an IR. So he should be coming back, like we said, relatively soon, and they definitely need it now, down 0-3. But a little disappointed that Michael Pittman Jr. was not exploding and really proving, hey, I'm at least a tier 1 wide receiver in this league. I don't know if he would have emerged as an A1 tier 1 wide receiver like a DeAndre Hopkins or a Stephon Diggs, anything like that. But this is not getting it done. No touchdowns in this game. Carson Wentz really should be targeting him 18 to 20 times a game, and we would have hoped, if he's getting 18 to 20 targets, that he would have 15 to 20 catches. So let's explore all of these incompletions here when he's targeting Michael Pittman Jr. We got all the plays queued up. So let's roll the tape. So here we go. First drop or incomplete pass here when targeting Michael Pittman Jr. comes when they're down 7-0, and it's 3rd and 10 in the first quarter. So you go to Michael Pittman Jr. on this pass. If he picks up the first down, keeps the drive moving, potentially tying up this game at 7-7. But let's see. Was it Michael Pittman Jr. dropping the ball or Carson Wentz incomplete? Let's see. Here we go. 3rd and 10 at their own 43-yard line. Carson Wentz dropping back to pass. Plenty of time to throw. Goes over the middle, and then Michael Pittman Jr. over the middle and just can't hang on to the ball. And this is a real big drop. Carson Wentz got the ball there to the first down marker. Michael Pittman Jr. had his hands on this ball. Look at all that separation, and he can't come down with it. Come on, Michael Pittman Jr. You're way better than this. That's right in your hands, and that is a complete 100% drop. He got open. He got the separation he needed. Got the ball right in his hands, and then just ended up dropping it when he got kind of hit by the defender coming down to the ground. So that is really inexcusable. That would have continued this drive. Now they're still down 7-0 because of that big drop. Come on, Michael Pittman Jr. You can't be doing that. Truly unfortunate. Now, lucky for this Colts team, the following Titans possession, Ryan Tannehill throws an interception, and the Colts are able to go down and score a touchdown to make it 7-7. But what if that didn't happen? Michael Pittman Jr., you cannot drop that ball. So one of the 6 incompletions is definitely on Michael Pittman Jr. 100%. That's a real ugly drop. Early in the game on the road, you can't be making those mistakes. Alrighty, next drop or incompletion right here. The Colts down again, 14-10, 9:57 in the third quarter left, and they are driving in the Titans territory. Here we go. 1st and 10 from the Titans 35-yard line. Michael Pittman Jr. in motion, and that is a wildly inaccurate ball there by Carson Wentz, way too high, and they end up just throwing the ball away. So that one is on Carson Wentz. Let's go to the next one. This is on the same drive now. Still down 14-10, but now they're in the red zone. Did Carson Wentz just target Michael Pittman Jr. in the end zone to take the lead here in the second half of this game, and he did not complete this ball? Oh boy, I don't want to watch this one. Michael Pittman Jr., you better not have dropped this one. So here we go. Colts from the Titans 80-yard line. Carson Wentz, play action, throws over the middle, and there it is. Michael Pittman Jr. right through this man's hands. Come on, this would have taken the lead right here, man. You would have been up 17-14. Let's watch this one more time here. Oh, man. Oh, man. Is this on Carson Wentz or is this a drop? It's just, oh, man, that's by Carson Wentz. He has to shore up that accuracy in the red zone. Just off the mark right here. Michael Pittman Jr., full extension. Unfortunately, the ball just going off the fingertips, and there's really, I don't really think we should really put this on Michael Pittman to catch this ball. Obviously, we would have loved for him to catch this ball, but it's not even in both fingertips. I think this ball is a little inaccurate down here, so Carson Wentz really needs to step up, especially when you're down, especially when you're on the road, especially when you're going against a division opponent and you're down in the second half. You have to be pinpoint accurate here in the end zone, in the red zone, and that is just not 100% accurate there by Carson Wentz. Now, when they were down in the red zone, that incomplete pass, obviously, and they have to settle for a field goal, folks. They have to settle for a field goal because Carson Wentz was not 100% accurate in the red zone, and Michael Pittman Jr. didn't make a spectacular, full extension catch. We know Michael Pittman Jr., 6'3", 6'4", big, tall weapon out there, and the ball was still out of the range of his outstretched hand. So real big miss there by this Colts team, and they have to settle for a field goal. They have to settle by still being down. So now let's go to Michael Pittman Jr.'s next drop or incompletion. The Colts are still only down 1 point here. Another opportunity to take the lead and try and beat this Titans team. So here we go. A minute left in the third quarter. They're down 14-13, 1 point, and they're at their own 32-yard line. Here we go, 2nd and 10. Let's see what he does here with Michael Pittman Jr. All right, here we go. Drops back to pass, tries to sling it in there, and it was tipped right at the line of scrimmage. So not really on anybody right there, just an unfortunate ball. And then we got one more. We got one more, two more. We got two more. All right. Next drop. All right. Now they're down 9 points, 13-22 in the fourth quarter. Obviously, it's a 2-possession game, have to score twice, and they are trying to drive right here just across midfield at the Titans' 47-yard line. So here we go. Carson Wentz, 12 minutes left in the fourth quarter, down 9, 1st and 10. Let's see what he does here. Drops back to pass. Airs it out, and then this is just way inaccurate, way too much outside. That's not where Michael Pittman Jr. was, so miscommunication here. Really kind of seemed like it was just a bad throw by Carson Wentz. Michael Pittman went way more inside than Carson Wentz thought he was going to play the boundary a little bit more, and that's a way incomplete, non-catchable ball there by Michael Pittman Jr. So the fact that their chemistry and repetition and rhythm aren't 100% on the mark, it's like, what have we been doing out here? I mean, we're in week 3 here. You were down 0-2 coming into this game, and the urgency and the 100% everybody on the same page is just not here in this game. Bad throws by Carson Wentz, bad drops by Michael Pittman Jr., miscommunication right here. This should be your main man. This should be 100% honed in. This should be looking like, Aaron Rodgers to Devontae Adams. This is what that quarterback to wide receiver combo should be looking like here, but it's not. We don't get that. Instead, Instead, we get Michael Pittman Jr. led his team in receiving yards with only 68, 6 catches for 68 yards and no touchdown. That's not what we need to see out of this Colts team. We need them to start slinging this ball around a little bit more to get this offense out to a hot start so they can be competitive in these games. All right, we get one more drop incompletion here by Michael Pittman Jr. This time, a minute left in the fourth quarter. Game over at this point. They're down 9 points, 2 possessions, a minute left. There's no way you win this game. But let's just see, did they give up in this game? I'm sure y'all have heard the articles in the Tyler Boyd of the Bengals said, oh, the Steelers gave up at the end of the game, that they were dropping all the passes. And then Mike Tomlin comes out. He's like, yeah, I don't care what Tyler Boyd says. So, we see, some players, some teams maybe giving up in the end. Did this Colts team give up with the minute left? You really can't give up down, being 0-3 heading into next week. You need to build some momentum right here. And the last pass to Michael Pittman Jr. is a drop. That's not building that kind of, that greatness that needs to be there to carry it over to next game. So let's see the final drop here by Michael Pittman Jr. Is it on Wentz? Is it on him? Let's see what we get here. So here we go, 3rd and 7, a minute left in the game. They're at the Titans 35-yard line, so you could score here, get an onside kick, score again. You could. It's probably not going to happen, but it could happen. So let's see. This pass right here, they take a timeout, so got to skip a little bit right here, and we're back. Here we go, 3rd and 7. Drops back to pass. Going deep, Michael Pittman Jr. one-on-one, and man, oh man, this ball was right on him. Come on. You have to go up and catch the ball with your hand, and this is going to be something that we're going to be watching throughout the entire day, folks, because there's a couple other wide receivers that did the exact same thing Michael Pittman Jr. did right here, and it bugged me the entire day watching football because I was seeing it through the 1s and the 4s in the late game. But here we go. Go up and catch this ball. Don't let this ball come to you. You have to go and attack this ball. Michael Pittman Jr. lets this ball come to him, and he doesn't go up and try to catch this ball. He misses the ball too, and then it bounces off the defender's helmet, and he doesn't catch the ball. So not great concentration there by Michael Pittman Jr. You see the clear size advantage that he has. He should be able to go up and catch this ball over him, but he just mistracks it, man. You have to go up and get that ball, and at this point, we have a chance at an onside kick. It probably won't be complete, but we have a little bit of hope. We have one more play that if we execute, we get the ball back, which in turn we could potentially go down and win this game. Michael Pittman Jr. floundering out here in this game when we needed him to be on his A1 tier 1 game for the first 3 games to prove that he can be that number 1 wide receiver on this team, but he didn't prove that. So kind of a flounder job out here by Pittman Jr. Unfortunate, man. We need him to step up. We need him to step up without T.Y. Hilton. And he didn't do that, and now the Colts are 0-3 to start the season. So real disappointed. We were expecting big things out of him this season. Was really anticipating him to really emerge onto the scene as one of the top tier wide receivers in this league, and we get drops here. Not concentrating, not pulling off some big time catches here when your team is down, not truly kind of, coming out onto the scene and saying, hey, I'm actually a superstar right here. There's everybody, there's a lot of just regular players here in the NFL. There's not a lot of superstars. I want to be one of those superstars, and I'm going to prove it here. My team's struggling a little bit offensively, and I'm going to be the main difference, the sole reason why we pull off these wins, and he just didn't do that. So a little disappointed in Michael Pittman, and hopefully he can kind of start to clean it up as the season progresses. I believe the Colts have one of the most easiest remaining schedules left, which is good because they're 0-3. But man, oh man, Michael Pittman, please emerge onto the scene. Continue to get better. We're rooting for you. We're here rooting for you. Alrighty, so that was Titans Colts.